A stitch in time saves 9, or so they say. For these women, stitching has now become their favorite pastime as they while away time behind bars. Meru Women Prison houses 108 inmates with only 30 of them convicted. The prison intended for only 45 inmates is overstretched as it is. Being a women's prison, a good share of the inmates have their babies in tow, and currently they stand at 19 infants.
We stay with the prisoners, with the children, from 1 day old to 4 years.
Catherine Kambui from Isiolo has spent the past 2 years of her life shuttling between Isiolo and Meru Women's Prison. It is behind bars that she delivered her bundle of joy, Alex Monene. Together, mother and son for the past 2 years have spent their time locked up. She joins the growing list of remandees who continue to wait for the conclusion of their cases.
Nilipelekwa kotini kwanza na assault. Baada ya kupelekwa kotini, nilijifungua mtoto nikiwa remand Isiolo prison. Nikapewa bondi, nikatoka, nikaenda nyumbani. Baada ya kumaliza miezi 3, huyo kijana alikuwa amepelekwa Kenyatta. Ndio alikufa, nikakujua tena na polisi.
Life behind bars has not been easy for her. As much as she admits the conditions have improved inside the prison, it is an environment she would prefer not to bring up her son.
Chakula ile anakula, anakunywa maziwa na mchele. Saa zingine namchanganyizia maziwa na ugali na ninaona ikiwa inamfaa.
You will find mothers who are expectant and also mothers who have got children in the prison. And we don't have the facilities.
Raising a child is a task on its own, but raising a child within prison walls is an entirely different story. Catherine's son has known no other life outside these prison walls. For her, she wishes the judicial system would speed up, then she can determine her son's future. Achieng'a, reporting for Channel 1, Meru Women's Prison. These are the humble dwellings that the more than 200 prison wardens in Meru Jikai prison have come to regard as home. The houses located a few meters from the main prison are in a sorry state. After a hard day's work monitoring the more than 1,000 inmates, the officers retired to these quarters for a much-needed rest.
Hatuna tofauti pande ingine, hata Kibera huko labda ni kuzuri kuliko sisi mahali tunakaa.
One house unit, 2 officers only. Because of structural rigidities in the station, we were forced by circumstance to do that. But that is not the proper channel. Each staff ought to have its own secrecy.
Never mind the state of the houses. 3/4 of the wardens reside here, mainly for security reasons. They are required to live as close as they can to the prison in case a breakout occurs. Their meager wages also do not allow them to rent a house outside.
The value of a house, a small unit, a single room, costs up to 1,500. And an officer is given about 850.
Sharing of houses exposes them to infectious diseases that one could have picked up in the line of duty. The spread of HIV is also a reality for them. Under these conditions, living with one's family here is at most times out of the question.
Masaa yetu ya kufanya kazi ni tofauti. Unafanya kazi usiku, mwingine mjana, mwingine shift hii, na wakati uko na bibi yako amekuja na yule mwingine yake hakuna, unajuaje vile inaendelea? Na hiyo ni mambo dakika 1-2.
An officer is given slightly over 10,000 basic salary. So when it is deducted, you can get somebody getting even up to 2,000. If the government can do something to subsidize, the better.
In their line of duty, prison officers are forced to live in deplorable conditions. The question is, for how long will they continue to suffer before their voices can be heard? Achieng'a for Channel 1 Special Report. Precision, focus and tact marks the beginning of another day at Ruiru Prison Staff Training College. This is home to 1,500 trainees with about 400 women. It is here that they get to learn all there is to know before they are posted as prison wardens in the country's 94 correctional facilities.
When they leave here, they will be prison officers and they will be earning money, which they may use or misuse in other antisocial activities. The biggest challenge is how they will appreciate the counseling and the advice that is they are going to be given.
All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, and so they relaxed. But just for a moment to get a different type of training. With only 2 weeks left before their pass out, the prison's AIDS control unit chose to give the recruits a shot at voluntarily taking an HIV test. Consequently, a team of 21 counselors armed with testing kits and information on HIV have for a week worked hard at sensitizing both the staff and the recruits. Prison officials say this exercise has witnessed a reduction of new infections among wardens.
If you see 3 or 4, that is information giving for such that they can encourage one another to have the same test. So when the test time comes, each and every person has his own test because the interpretation of result is done with the one-on-one counselor and the client. A case whereby they've come as 2 of different sexes, that is a male and a female, they could come as those people who want to get tests together, such that after training they can live as a wife and a husband.
Contrary to popular belief, testing for HIV during the recruitment drive is non-existent, which provided a rare opportunity for the recruits to know their HIV status. In their line of duty, prison wardens are at a high risk of contracting HIV. Congestion in housing facilities where some families share the same house may encourage infidelity.
When you go once, you can't be sure that you're negative. So if you go for the second time, it confirms that you are actually negative. But you see at times you may find yourself engaging in funny behaviors, and it calls for now, for one to be sure.
I don't like living in darkness, not knowing what I am, what I have. Yeah, maybe to be in the light side.
HIV, being no respecter of persons, needs to be fought from all corners. These prison trainees are now empowered on HIV and AIDS issues. They're certain knowing and living according to one's HIV status is the only weapon they need to fight HIV. As uniformed officers continue to serve diligently in their various capacities, it is an open secret that stigma continues to be an issue. Most infected officers prefer to remain anonymous rather than share their stories openly. Until they're brave enough to stand up and be counted, HIV may continue to silently spread its wings within the uniformed circles. Achieng'a for Channel 1, Beyond the Epidemic.
471. Ambapo andika hivyo. Andika 471.
Education is the key to all opportunities. However, for these siblings, Fanny Anyango and Regan Odhiambo, opportunity is something that may remain distant if they fail to acquire the greatly desired education. Often as a result of HIV-related ailments, 18-year-old Regan doubles as the sole breadwinner and father to his 9-year-old sister who tested positive to HIV 4 years ago. Strained financially, along with the constant need to have her close for medication purposes, little Fanny was forced to abandon her quest for an education.
Hii shule ya government ya hapa iko mbali na sisi. Maybe akienda in a week ataanza kulia kifua inamuuma. Na sasa inakuwa ni tatizo. Lakini saa hii najaribu sana mwenye anaweza mpatia support ya kwenda shule hata kama ni boarding school.
Shule ilikuwa mzuri. Tunafanya hesabu, tunasoma English, tunasoma Kiswahili. Nikuwa mkubwa, ningependa kufanya kazi kwa hoteli.
Regan found out his sister's HIV status at a time when his mother was also bedridden. Compounded to that, Fanny was also infected with TB, intensifying the burden of care. This forced him to quit school and instead get a job to fend for his family.
Kwanza walikuwa wanamtibu malaria, after that akapimwa kifua, wakasema kuna TB. Before mwanzishe dawa za TB, wakampima, akapata ako positive. Nikakuja nikaelezea mama, but mama hakutia manane ya hakuamini ya kwamba mtoto wake anaweza kuwa ako positive.
Inakuwa ameze dawa za ARVs na pia ameze dawa za TB. Na mwanzo mtu akiwa na TB anapewa dawa za TB kwa the first intensive phase ambayo ni miezi miwili. Anameza miezi miwili akimaliza ndio anaanzisha ARVs. Sasa unaona katika hiyo continuous phase mtu anakuwa na pill burden.
Drug adherence among children is something that needs to be checked at all times if the response to HIV is to be effective. At her tender age, Fanny has her entire future ahead of her, a fact that her brother Regan is intent on making a reality. In the past 4 years, Fanny has been infected with pulmonary TB once and extreme pulmonary TB twice. This is mainly as a result of the polluted surroundings within Kibera slums that make her vulnerable to infections. Drug adherence has also been a challenge. Regan was hence forced to marry at only 18 to ensure his sibling has someone to assist her in taking her ARVs on time.
Alikuwa amemiss kliniki moja. Alikuwa amekosa kuendea dawa kwa muda wa mwezi mmoja. Sasa wakati nilipoenda hapo nikapewa jina lake nije nimtafute. Alikuwa TB relapse na alikuwa kwa retreatment.
Tangu nipate pesa ya chakula inakuwa ile saa yake ya kumeza dawa inapita. Lakini nikajimudu tu, najaribu at least natafuta hata kama ni kopa, hata kama ni kwenda kwa marafiki, lakini marafiki naweze kusaidia kila siku.
Fanny's dream of becoming a hotelier hangs in the balance, just like many orphans her age who have to not only battle with HIV, but face the reality of poverty and hopelessness. Her story mirrors that of millions of other orphans whose plight the government has to address urgently to ensure drug adherence among children is dealt with to save lives. Achieng'a for Channel 1, Beyond the Epidemic.